Hey folks, walk with me. Well, we got a little 3-question Q&A today. We did last time, seemed to go well. If you have questions that you'd like to ask, feel free to pop them in the comments below. But we'll work with what we have this time. So, I think I memorized them, but we'll see. So, first one was, where did you grow up? So I was actually wondering if I've been accused before of having a suspiciously close to Canadian accent. And I was sort of wondering if somebody was asking for that reason, but maybe not. But I actually grew up relatively close to Canada, and did go to college in Niagara Falls on the American side, but right there at the gorge and at the border. But I grew up on a 200-acre working family farm in western New York. So the nearest cities were sort of Buffalo or Rochester. And Rochester at that time was a booming city, actually. IBM was there, Kodak, Paychex, just several large businesses and institutions that time has not proved well to that economy. But in any case, I was on the farm, and I've since come to realize that there were a lot of things about the farm that I did like, and I'm integrating those actually into my adult life now. At the time, though, I had this view of like really disdaining the farm, but it wasn't solely for the reasons of the farm. Maybe we could talk about some of those reasons in another video, but that seems like too much to get into in a 3-question Q&A. But so I grew up there. I went to college, like I said. After college, I moved to Chicago because I had a couple of friends from college who had moved there, and lived there for 5 years. And then I traveled around for a bit, plopped myself down in New York City the very end of 2009, I think. And then I stayed there for 10 years. So, and then I moved in 2019 to where I am now. So, but yeah, growing up on the farm, there's many ways that I can look back on it, but I am glad, I guess I'll just say, I am glad that in my current life today, having spent a lot of time in cities and in different cultures and meeting different people, I'm glad that I'm finding ways to reconnect and reintegrate some of those aspects of the farm that I did enjoy into my current life and do it in my way. Okay, second one was, what's your favorite artist? I wasn't exactly sure what this meant. So I might sort of, in the future, when I have 2 questions for Q&A, I might tweak this slightly. So for this video, I'm going to take it as musician. And then maybe in the future, we'll do like visual artists, like photographer, painter, poet, novelist, so on and so forth. But musical artist, I have to go with Paul Simon. And this might make me sound older than I look. I don't know if that's possible. But no, there's so many songs of his that I connect with, that like just a turn of phrase, or sometimes even just a movement of melody that I find so touching. But it is shocking to me how sometimes there are just phrases in his lyrics. I'm a big lyrics person. Phrases in his lyrics that I feel like that says something that I felt or something about me way better than I could ever say it. And, that's what I want out of lyrics. It's like, either like tell me a great story, almost like you're reading a phenomenal adventure novel or something, or fantasy novel, or hit me with something that's like, oh wow, that resonates too strongly to have come from someone else. But because it comes from someone else, they're saying it way more profoundly than and impactfully than I ever could. So I saw him once live in concert when I wanted to say a senior in college, but I think maybe I was a junior. They were doing, I think it was called the Old Friends Tour, with Simon and Garfunkel. And they were playing in Toronto. And like I said, I was on the Canadian border. Toronto was an hour or an hour and a half away, something like that. And so I and one friend who was also interested in going, we went to see that concert, and it was fantastic. It was really cool to see them with the band. They had, I think it was one of the Everly Brothers who was their support act, but they like didn't open for him. They like came in and played some songs together, like Wake Up Little Susie and stuff like in the middle of the show, if I recall. But it was funny because Garfunkel looked like exactly how you would expect him to look, based on younger photo and video, just an older version of that. Paul Simon, he looked how you would expect him to look to a degree, but he was like buff, I remember. But you know, this would have been 20 years ago, 20 or a little more than 20 years ago. But yeah, I remember looking at him going, is he kind of jacked? Is he kind of like buff right now? And he totally was. It was, I don't know what the deal was, but good for him, I guess. I don't know. But I mean, they could still crush it, and they had great stamina. It was a phenomenal show, and I'm really glad that I got to see both of them, actually, as now they're very, very old. But yeah, he always gets me. And the last one, what's your favorite animal pet or pet animal? It was something like that. So I've been thinking recently about getting a dog. Very standard, obviously, but in all honesty, my favorite pet is a goat. I want to say they're a Nubian goat. I could totally be botching this. I'm going off of 35 years of memory, but they're the taller ones, like not the little mountain goats or billy goats or whatever, who are like crazy and like jump all over the place and are just, yeah, like having a tornado in your presence. No, these tall ones are so sweet and chill and will walk beside you, much like a dog, or at least growing up I had a couple that would do this, walk beside you like a dog. You could pet them. They had these long, really soft ears, and just super friendly. Felt like as much like a dog as you could get without it being a dog. And my path is blocked here a little bit. Let me show you. There's this tree, half fallen. Yeah, so we have to scoot around that. Luckily we can pretty easily get down around it, but didn't see that coming. But in any case, no, these tall goats, I don't know if they vary to some, I'm sure not a lot, but to some degree in like fur color. But the ones that I had were brown, like sort of a lightish, you know, to mid-range brown, standard brown. But yeah, I just remember they would just follow you around. They walk around. They will eat everything, so like that's something to consider. And I actually haven't looked up in the town where I am now what the sort of like space requirement is, if there is such a thing, for like hooved animals. So like sometimes in townships or municipalities or whatever, you know, they have like, you have to register your dog, or I don't know if you have to register cats, I have no idea. But sometimes they also have sort of particular amount of space that you need in order to have like a hooved animal, which I think a goat fits into. And I haven't looked that up here, but I would really like to get a couple of goats again. I have the fondest memories of them. And you know how dogs, like even if it's a pretty chill dog, and sometimes get like kind of worked up and riled up, like they didn't really have that. So they were always this sort of like, almost like a Zen quality to them, to a degree, which was just, it was really nice to have that presence around. So that's my answer for that one. All right, folks, well, thanks for the questions. Please put them below in the comments if you have others. And hopefully we can do this again in the near future. Happy walking if you walked with me. We got about 11 minutes in, or we will by the time I shut this baby off, probably. So good work on that. If not, thanks anyway for watching to the end of this video. And I will see you in the next video.